Hello everyone. So today I have a little bit of a special video where I will be playing against Struggle Bus, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different. You notice this is my DDK to SDK series, and not just a versus series like I do with when I played Yunkyo. What we're going to do is we're both going to be playing out our fundamentals, right? He has his own series where he focuses on DDK, and I have my new series where I'm focused on DDK, and we're going to not necessarily see whose is better, but we want to compare our thoughts and see how we play differently. And maybe we'll come to some mutual understanding on how things are maybe not supposed to be done, but what we both think are important ideas to really focus on. Remember, for this series, I am specifically playing only 3 4 points. I'm trying to reduce over invading, and I'm trying not to kill or attack anything unless it's something that can be solved with that easy Sumego collection that I've mentioned a few times on Sumego Hero. Let's get into a game and let's just hope for the best here. I mean, since I am restricting myself a bit, it's entirely possible that he might be able to win. And let's just try it and see what happens.
Game started.
All right, the game started. I am black in this game. Let me say hello to my opponent or have fun. All right, remember, so in this series, we are only doing the 3 4 points. Remember, that's very important. And I don't know if it's just me, guys, but I think the shadows on everything are way darker now. I'm gonna have to check my old videos, but they look way darker than they were before. I feel like they're kind of floating above the board instead of on the board, or the light's really close. So it's actually kind of distracting for me. So I like to do double 3 4, and it can be facing in any direction that I want. In this case, I will be facing not my opponent twice. I don't want to do this one, but I'm just going to do a basic layout here. And my first move is always going to be enclosing. I don't want to be focusing on my opponent at all. We're just going to be enclosing the corner. And always this short, small enclosure. And we'll have to wait and see what my opponent decides to do. He should also be playing with some basics involved. So we're going to see what things he's considering basic and what things he's not considering basic. He also teaches DDK players. So we're going for the same sort of goal. He has a similar sort of idea. Now, they approached us high here. We only have 2 Josekis that we're really focused on playing, and one of them is this attach underneath Joseki. After this, they should Hane. We will extend back. They connect. We jump. They jump. And that's going to be very, very straightforward. We're just playing this basic Joseki. Yep. And just jump. It's really important to always finish every local shape that you play. You don't want to try to ask for too much more and get into trouble. Just always finish your local shapes. It's very tempting, actually, to just do R12 right now. Something that I generally prefer a little bit more is to go and approach them first as a 3 4 point. Something I also want to focus on is like, how would we bother this group? And I think in our second video, I did show one invasion when they played low. So I think in this case, we're going to do this again, and we're going to show maybe another invasion that we could do here. We'll have to see how it goes. In the last video, I did focus a lot on letting my opponent have a ton of influence, and this time I'm not going to be doing that. I mean, he's still going to get influence, but this time my focus isn't going to be on giving the influence away. When our opponent attaches to us, we do want to Hane. That is the most common move that you should play. After we Hane, if they extend out, we take away the tiger's mouth. This is a very common shape to use all the time. Surprisingly, it hasn't really come up very often yet. So attach, Hane, extend is a very useful thing to keep in mind. We don't need to try to get extra here. We don't need to try to go all the way or try to do an invasion. No, we're just fixing our own shape. So after they extend here, we do have a cutting point that we need to fix. We can fix it directly by connecting. As I said, attach, Hane, extend, right? The extension fixes the cutting point by making it so that we have extra liberties when they go to cut. Liberties are extremely important. And now there is a push and cut that we could try to do. I don't like to do that too early. I want to leave that for later, basically. We still have a 3 4 point that we could approach, so I'm just going to approach that first. And I'm going to play high or low. It doesn't really matter. I think I'll just play high. I think high is maybe the easiest one. Even if they decide to pincer us, high is already towards the center, and so we can run away more quickly. And if they just do the attach and Hane Joseki, like we just saw on the bottom right, then that's always something easy to follow along with, something that we already know. Same exact thing as the bottom right. So we just need a Hane, they extend, and we need to protect the cutting point. It's actually the same thing that we did here. When they attached on top here, we Hane, they extend, we protect the cutting point with R11. So I like to just connect solidly here. They should answer one more time. And then instead of playing high, like my opponent did, I think playing low is actually the better choice. This is the much easier position to handle, much more flexible, much more solid. The high move gives you more influence towards the center, but this low move is more alive. Interesting. I think the left side was probably a little bit more interesting, similar to what I did here at R11, applying a little tiny bit of pressure, but also growing from my corner. He could have done the same thing, and I would probably just jump, and then he could defend. Since he did not do that, one thing that I really, really want to do is I just want to take this 2 space extension. If he's able to apply pressure to me, I get into not trouble, but he's able to build and pressure my group. So I want to prevent that pressure. I'm not worried about the points he's going to make in the corner. If I was worried about that, I could go further. I could try to do something extra, but no. We just need the 2 space extension. Our group is now extremely strong on the left side. And then after everything's really strong, we could go back and focus on this push and cut in the center, for example. Generally, white should play at c5 here to solidify the corner, not let me slide in. But he does have a weakness in the center where I can push and cut. I may not want to do it right away. I'm not sure, but there is that weakness there. So he's going to try to defend that. We don't want to allow him to Atari over our stones, so we're just going to extend. Now, we don't want the head of 2 stones. We don't want them to Atari and connect here to be really strong. We just want to keep our shape as strong as possible. This is still allowing this push and cut, but it's actually a little bit of a mistake because, now when we push and cut, they don't have anything that they can do to fight back. They are playing really, really close to us, which is kind of interesting. So generally, I don't really like to be surrounded. So we could try to prevent them from surrounding us. If we play this move, then we're also now threatening the push and cut and making it more of a severe thing. So I like this idea. And then the other idea would just be like trying to push and cut right away. But I always think that we want to defend first and then go to the attack. I felt like we were strong enough everywhere that we could attack, but they have somewhere they can connect to. So I'm just going to be disconnecting them and making sure they cannot surround me. Yes, my group is alive, but if I'm not able to get surrounded, then it's harder for them to be strong in the center. Kind of a funny looking shape though, a little square thing. He's now defending in the center. So this push and cut is not going to be as useful anymore. And since they are now defending, we don't need to worry about it. And something else I really like to do, as I've mentioned before, is I like to reduce more than invade. So we could invade at this point and turn this into a little bit of a fight.
8.
But if we play this knight's move to press this stone down, we just let them take that 3rd line territory on the top, and we're usually pretty happy. We just need to stay ahead of our opponent here. We don't want to be pulling back, trying to do anything special here. We want to stay ahead of what our opponent is doing. Okay, and we're still going to be staying ahead of our opponent. Remember, we want to not let them Hane at the head of our stones. We want to be ahead of them. And once we have 3 in a row, then when they push here and cut with 3 in a row here, we can turn it into a netting stone. So just remember that if we have 3 in a row, our cutting points are significantly stronger. So we're just going to extend one more time, at least. If they push, we will extend again. They are connecting under like this, nice and simple, but all of our cutting points and everything are fairly secure at this point. If we really want to, again, we probably could do this push and cut and turn this into a big fight in the center, but we really don't need to worry about that. Earlier, I had said that they should have played this c5 move. So now if we take it, we get a little bit of a better result on the left side. Our push and cut here is no longer in trouble, so we're still strong. Biyomi was getting in my head, so it was It was hard to describe what was going on there. Oh, he's bumping up against my stone. This is actually a bit of a mistake here. Because we do have this stone, we're able to actually go inside the corner. If we pull back and they block, that's sort of what he's hoping for.
10, 9,
But we do have backup.
7.
So I'm actually going to extend into the corner. This is sort of the punishment for not responding properly here, because we can do this clamping move. And now we can connect underneath or cut off the stone. And we got to take away the corner. They were only able to do this because we already had all this strength. We played really slowly, really solidly. We have this strength. We now got to take away the corner. This is a really nice result for us. Yep, just connecting underneath. All right, all right. They are taking a 2-space extension to try to keep their group from being weak. They probably needed another move in the corner, honestly, but it's okay. They do have a lot of potential influence here towards the center. Something that I'm really, really wanting to focus on is
9,
reducing
8,
the center area.
7, 6, 5.
The shoulder hit is a really good way to just reduce whatever is possible in the center. I can't attack this group anymore. It's pretty strong. He has a base. He has some extra strength. He has all this influence. So a shoulder hit, and we're just jumping towards the center or connecting back up to our stones, is a great way to reduce. And we just need to extend and stay connected. Okay, he's trying to disconnect us or threaten to disconnect us. So we can just turn here and our group is very strong. You don't really want to play any other sort of attaching move to them. You're making them stronger when you attach to them. If we turn here, we now have this 2-space extension and no more cutting points. I always try to prioritize our local shape over everything else. Something that white is actually going to have to start worrying about is actually this push and cut again. If we push and cut, they Atari us over the top here, we're able to Hane under and maybe get some damage in here. And if they jump over to fix this side and we're extending up, then we're actually doing a little bit of damage to their other group. So they still have to be a little bit worried about that. That's why I want to keep pointing that out. Even if I'm not playing it, it is a danger. So here, we just need to make sure our stones are solid and connected. So we're just going to maintain that connection like this. And here, a really, really nice way to stay connected is actually to extend down to threaten the corner. But we could also, again, just continue to stay connected here like this. When you connect like this, you're taking a liberty away from your opponent. When you connect like this, you are taking territory away from your opponent.
9, 8, 7.
In this case,
6.
let's take away a liberty. This is the easiest one to understand. And maybe we'll be able to attack these 2 stones. Okay, just defending. That's a really good idea. There's still a lot that they have to worry about, but we don't need to try and be very aggressive. Like I could probably just cut it off right away.
9, 8,
But
7,
instead,
6.
I'm going to push here. This is a really good local shape. If I can Hane at the head of 2 stones, I feel really strong. They're going to Hane on my stones, so I will Hane back here. If I get to Atari, then I can capture 2 stones, so I feel good again. Now we can just keep focusing on this center, right? We don't really want them to make a lot of points in the center too easily. So if we just jump up in any of these spots, we can start hurting the center. Anything really works here. I'm not really sure which one I like the most.
9.
Let's play a move that's a little bit more focused on the idea of reducing our opponents. So I'm going to play closer to the area I want to reduce. The cutting point is still safe, but we're just focused on the idea of reduction. If we go a little bit further, we can reduce a little bit more, but we add more weakness to our area. We don't really want to add weakness to our area. We just want to be focusing on this idea of the reduction. We're going to be pushing at least 1 time here to make sure that they can't push over the top of our stones and force us to respond. Now, their area is very strong. My area is also very strong. We don't really need to worry about our areas anymore. And what I'm really sort of focused on here is, can I do anything to this group? It doesn't have that much of a base, so I kind of want to play another move here in this corner. This is a really big move. So if I play here, we're threatening a little bit more of this base. We've almost surrounded this group. That's why I want to threaten it. And we've given our opponent a lot of points in the center here, but we're not really worried about that. This attachment is taking a liberty away from our stones, so we want to strengthen our stones. We're going to extend up here. What I want to do is I still want to kind of keep reducing this area, but they also have this really weak
10,
spot, right?
9,
Now that we're very strong everywhere,
6,
I feel like it's the right
5,
time
4,
to finally cut these these 3 stones off. We're separating them from the center here. We have a place we can run on either side as black. And so our stone is going to be safe now that we have all this extra strength. We applied a little bit of pressure to the bottom side. Maybe we can keep applying a little bit of pressure in the future, but we don't really need to keep worrying about that. They're just jumping here. We are also going to be jumping probably to keep them separated from the center. Jumping to try to connect to this side, which is a good idea. Probably the correct direction to go. I think this is where we can actually use our strength again to attach to our opponent's stone here. This attachment is getting rid of liberty, so we get to Hane again here. We're threatening to capture the stone.
7,
We could try something like this move to cut this off and force them to live. Okay, they are just going to try to live. However, they are threatening the Hane at the head of our stones here. We are very strong on both sides. It's actually not 3 in a row because we have this closer connection. So what I actually want to do
10,
is I want to make sure we're completely connected on the top side. This push here is starting to push through my opponent's area. This turn here is starting to Atari and push through again my opponent's area. And now, again, I'm focusing on making myself as strong as I can and then going back and doing something on the bottom side. Now that we've done this, we could jump here to maintain our own connection. Actually, could be a good idea. I think we're really strong on the top side. So if they're attaching here to make some shape, I think that's going to be helpful for us. So I'm not going to worry about that.
9,
Or maybe I will. It's hard for me to say. You know, I will just actually do that. I convinced myself. I wasn't going to, but I like it now. All right, they're jumping here. They are threatening to connect up their stones. This Hane here is still connected up to the corner, so we really don't need to worry about it. And we can just focus on disconnecting our opponent. We can attach here. If they Hane, we extend just like normal. They
10,
extend, we block.
9,
We're a little bit
7,
weak, so we maybe not want to block that way, but we'll see how it goes here. Our goal here is just disconnecting. When we connect here, we have this tiger's mouth, which is really nice. We have this diagonal move, which means when they push down, we have a tiger's mouth connection. So we can actually just connect solidly. This is why we played all these really slow moves earlier and why we are connected on the top, right? We have this connection here. We have a connection on the top side. We have connection everywhere. We're extremely strong on the board. Okay, they're peeping at us, so we need to connect. We don't want to let them push through. Was it only a fool? No, even a fool defends against a peep or something like that. I think that's one of those old proverbs. Kind of a funny one. This is where we can actually start to be a little bit aggressive with the stones on the bottom side. We have this nice peep here, which is starting to capture these 4 stones. We're very happy to capture these. And if we extend here, they will have to go back and live on the bottom side. I don't know if I actually want that way to do it, or if I'd want to just Hane and connect. That could be better. I think I actually do kind of just want
5,
Hane and connect.
4, 3, 2,
So that's what I'm going to do. Something I'm going to be prioritizing at this point is taking points. I want to take as many points as I can. They are pretty close to alive. And if I play a move in the center, I'm not getting points for myself. That's what I mean. So if I'm not getting points with that, I don't necessarily have to keep them separated. So play the Hane and connect. They have to defend in some way. And like this one, if we really want to keep attacking, we probably could. But we're not going to worry about attacking. We're just going to extend up here, let them connect up. They're basically strong everywhere. We're going to extend one more time. We don't want the Hane at the head of 2 or 3 stones. Maybe the 3 stones will allow the Hane, but for now, we definitely don't want this Hane. So now they're connected, they're strong. Our groups are really strong and connected. We don't need to worry about those as well. And now we can go back to this 3-space extension that we had earlier. There is this really nice invasion point here on the bottom side. We still have this push and cut. Actually, it's still kind of annoying, I have to admit.
9,
But something we can actually do here.
7,
So we can do this double connection idea, threatening to connect on either side. We're giving up a couple points doing this, but it's okay to do because we're strong. Doing that one, I could actually probably extend, but I will not. We're just connecting straight up, and we want to wedge here, leaving a cutting point. It's usually a good idea. We could just connect as well. I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll wedge and leave the cutting point. Just connect. Now they have this Hane, which they probably should do right away. And they should have the initiative, at least to some degree, in the center now. Okay, they're protecting this push and cut. They think they can give up this stone, so they probably didn't have to do that, but they did protect the push and cut, so that's good. So we can protect from their Hane, or we can play another big end game move. We've already gotten a few of them on the board. It's like this diagonal. It's a really, really big end game move,
10,
threatening to come over here.
9, 8,
They could have attached to our stone as well, so just nice big end game. The center is the area you do not want to focus on when we get to the end game like this. We want to just focus on these second line moves. Like they can do this Hane here, and they can also play the move on the left side. Focus on those moves first, and then we can focus on the middle at the last. That's the very last thing to do. Okay, so instead of playing one of these second line moves, he's doing this threat to disconnect. So we will just keep our stones connected. Definitely do not want our quarter cut off. It may not be alive. Okay, yeah, this is a really, really big move. Like I said, they should be getting this Hane. And they can also Hane again. The Atari here is going to be another big end game move. So yes, Hane again. I have to block. They connect. I connect. I don't like to do the Tiger's Mouth unless my group is not, like, unless I'm not sure that group's alive. If I think the group is alive, I like to just do the solid connection here. There are some cutting points in my shape. Remember, there's something that we really like to focus on is the idea of the Hane at the head of two stones, right? We have two stones in a lot of places here. If I block here and they cut here, we Atari. Like it's a little bit annoying, but I think it is possible. So I am going to just block and we'll see what they decide to do. But I do want to mention that if you're worried about this, you can just extend again. And yeah, they went to the middle before the last big end game move here on the side. So we'll get this nice Hane and connect. And now all this big end game is basically done. So I'm going to do this attachment here. This is actually a really nice move to keep us on to the second and third line. He can't block here, but he can do this Tiger's Mouth. I'll just connect solidly. And now they can block, but they still have a shortage of liberties, so it's best if they don't. Remember, this is the head of two stones if they push again. And that shape always has some liberty issues.
You have won.
My opponent decided to resign at this point. Look at AI here. I am a little bit ahead. And we are actually going to talk a little bit about this game, and we're going to compare our thoughts on the basics.
Okay, guys, so here we are in the review, and you want to know what? Like, I could pretend that I could actually review this game, but I think we're just going to hand this one over to our friends. So Triton, thank you for the game. Let's go over some basics, shall we?
Yes, I think this was kind of an interesting game, regardless of how simple it actually was. It ended up being really nice and close, which was kind of nice to see. I'm actually kind of curious about some of the moves you played. We both have our different ideas for what we consider to be basics or what we think people should try to follow. So
yeah, and actually before we yeah, same. So before we jump into this. So if you haven't figured out, I played against Triton here. We've done a video together in the past that came out. I thought it came out great, and so we wanted to do some. So we wanted to do something here. Triton's just kicked off his double-digit Q kind of series, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm really jealous with like how he's approaching. We approach it from different angles. We're looking for same goals, but he does his in a really clean way. It's different than ours. And so we'll be going over that here, but definitely worth checking that out because it gives another more insight from a stronger player, and his play style is quite a bit different than mine. Triton tends to play much more solidly, much more simply. Just keep the game simple, stay solid, wait for your opponent to make the mistake, go after that mistake. That's generally going to be his play style.
Well,
I
do have to say that I have a lot of restrictions that I put on myself for this series. I don't know if you remember too much from the first video or not, but I was actually a little bit worried that I could lose this game because I do have those restrictions on me, and I wanted to be as strict as I possibly could. Because the purpose of my series is not necessarily about winning those games; it's about maintaining the focus on your solid groups and making sure that you're strong everywhere, and then finally doing something to your opponent if you have an opportunity to do so.
Right,
just like you were saying, style.
Yeah, actually, just recently, I finally kind of turned the corner and realized that like I don't need to win all these games, even when I'm playing against double GQ players. Like it's fine, just as long as we still go over the basics. I actually don't know. The only limitations I know is I know you're always going to open with the double 3/4. You're always going to enclose the 3/4 so that the enclosure faces the other 3/4. So I know you're doing that 100% of the time. And then if they approach your 3/4, you're always going to attach underneath. But other than that, I do not know restriction.
So
I assume you're not going to kill groups.
Well, if they get surrounded and they die naturally, it's not my fault.
I mean, hey, if they choose death, who are you to deny that? Right?
I'm not judging you. You can do what you want. It's part of the restriction for me is, of course, that the Joseki restriction, like you said, if you approach high, I'm always attaching underneath. If you approach low, I'm always kicking. It's the same exact Joseki each time. Okay. And this also includes the same invasions and such. So that's the only invasion I'll do as well. If we have this sort of thing here and you don't defend, this is the only invasion I'm sort of allowing myself. And I have to only reduce for the most part as well. So you'll see how that sort of turned out in this.
Well, that's your play style anyway.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. But it is actually harder than it seems, because there was something you did a little bit early on that I think is kind of important to look at. And I was wondering what your idea was here when you attach on top of my stone.
It's interesting because even in my own games, this will be a move that I'll consider. I mean, it does give black a little too much. One of the things I like to focus on is the difference between third and fourth line stones, where when we're playing fourth line stones, we're typically focusing on influence rather than territory. And so choosing to play Q10 instead of R10 says, as white, I'm interested in taking influence, and that this maintains that, right? That I'll let you get a little bit bigger of a corner there just so I can get control of the center. That's like the intent of this. Whether or not it, that actually does a good job of that is, another question. But that's the intent when I play this.
Right, and so this move is supposed to be going along with that. Okay, I see. For what I've noticed quite a lot often is that this low move is actually the easier one for most people to handle, because you're able to live with it extremely easily and you can still get a lot of influence. So this is the one I've been really suggesting for people, even all the way up to the Dawn level. So when you play the high one, there's nothing really wrong with this. But after I get this move and you attach, the only thing I was really kind of curious about was that here I could actually just push and cut you and fight right away.
Yes, you can.
And it actually seems a little bit dangerous for white.
It's tough though, right? Like that's an interesting fight to pick early. It's a fight I'm willing to take, but I did it is an interesting one because it's going to be hard to see where this goes, because it's going to be, from my perspective, it's going to be tough for black to, you're not going to be able to see this, but like if white plays, if white just does the Atari and extension, so P9 into O9, so Atari and then push. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be tricky for black to both save those two stones and get the get a big upper corner. But I could be wrong. We could also look at the Atari from O10 and then playing Q8. So if
you have to jump out in some way,
so like this is a fight that I'm willing to take on, right? And it's like obviously I knew going in if you chose violence, I wasn't going to win the fight, but that doesn't mean that white isn't necessarily favored in the fight, right? But I did mention I very much mentioned in the video that cut is there, but it was one that we could handle, and I still think we could, but it certainly doesn't simplify the game. I don't focus as much at just playing super solid, keeping it super simple. That's probably just that slight difference.
Yeah, my feeling here is that because of the shape here, I feel pretty strong, and this is the main focus. The other main focus that I have in this series is sort of the Hani at the head of 2 stones shape, which is actually what we're getting here on both sides. Is the Hani at the head of this stone and the Hani at the head of these stones as well, and it basically is Hani at the head of 2 on both. Right. Even if you push or do something extra here, it's still something you have to worry about, and so being able to take advantage of that shape is often a really important thing to do in games. So allowing your opponent to do that as well is, like, as you said, it's not something that's going to lose you the game, but if you make any mistake in a fight, especially early on, it's like it's a 50-50 chance you may just lose right then and there, right? So I kept pointing it out, like as we went along here, I was like, okay, I have to keep in mind that is there, and if after we finish with some more Joseki and we're done with all of the stuff and I'm very strong everywhere, then I can push and cut, which is also when you went and defended as well.
And that is one thing I didn't bring it up in this game, but that's often advice that I'll give is if there's a group you can attack, but you don't necessarily know where your profit's going to be, or you don't necessarily know the best way to attack it, you can leave it, and either your opponent will have to use one of their Sente moves to fix it, or the game will develop in a way where the attack becomes more clear. And so, and that's what's happening here. If we let this game develop and you get C10 and you potentially get K4, right, then that cut becomes very dangerous, right? And so now that you've got strength on the left side of the board, we need to do something about it. Part of this also is on this board, on both the top and the bottom, we've got dueling third line stones. So there's such little potential on the top and bottom of the board that it felt appropriate to just play it here. Because honestly, the real potential on this board is that top right corner. So P13 felt like reasonable timing from both a strength and potential perspective.
Yeah, and I probably could have even pushed and cut right now if we're trying to be a very very severe and play a very strong game. This is probably when I would normally.
Now that you've got D14 and D15, that group there, it's a much different situation.
Yeah.
So
and the only other really sort of thing that felt was a little bit questionable was actually this enclosure. I feel like the left side, just like what I did to your left side, it probably is still much better to apply a little bit of pressure to this group on the left side here. Or make it so it's not so easily able to settle. So even if you're just doing this enclosure, I still, if I go to settle, I'm settling with a 1 space jump. This is still perfectly fine to play. It's definitely not as efficient as when I can play 2 spaces and then slide into your corner like I was able to in the game.
Yeah, sure. So if we do this though, and you ignore it and you play something like G3 or F3.
Yeah, play on the bottom somewhere.
Because there's not a
somewhere around here probably is what I would want to do.
Yeah, would you approach the corner first and then go get that? So this was just purely which side is bigger, which side has the more potential, and played on that side. That's the only reason I chose F3 over C6.
Neither of these problems were really that big of a deal. It's just something that I was kind of curious as to your feeling as to why you want to do those moves. Because I think, as I said, this isn't going to really lose anyone the game. And again, here, if I really want to try to be a little bit more efficient, I can try to come into the corner a little bit.
Yeah.
And we can do this sort of thing, like we were threatening a little bit in the game. But it'd be very efficient here, and it'd be good.
Yeah. Typically, when black plays B5, I'm just going to attach a D4. That variation.
Okay.
It keeps it real simple. That's one of the situations I do keep it. Well, it can keep it simple. Depends if black wants to keep it simple.
Yeah, if you do this one and we wedge, it's not as simple. You can still force it to be simple, but you are losing a little bit when you do that.
Wait, you lose a little bit. So so you're supposed for the viewers at home, you're supposed to Atari on the outside instead of playing C3, but it makes it
very complicated.
It becomes very complicated. So we're not gonna show that on the DDK channel here.
Yeah. So, and then here, I really think you should probably just defend again.
Yeah, that's so against my style, but it is. I mean, it is clearly big. It is clear.
Now, of course, playing that middle area was also important because I'm probably going to be pushing and cutting very soon if you do play that move. I think that's what I said I would play next. So defending in the center does make sense, but I would continue to actually just defend the center. Like you said, there's not really much potential anywhere to be made on this board, right? So playing this one, it's not threatening me.
The second I played this move, I was like, oh, that's a mistake. I played too close to strength. So I even mentioned that, like, I break one of my own rules here, because it's playing close to strength. Yeah, like you said, like, it's threatening nothing because you're already strong. So yeah, so this was an obvious mistake. I did point that out in game.
Yeah. So yeah, I played it really simple. I'm just separating here. If you do defend the top side now, for sure, you are in a lot of trouble. Yes. So you have to be very careful.
100% agree. I don't have the AI graph up on my screen, so people can't see it. But I love that we have this discussion, and we both of us are saying that, you know, black getting that cut is there like such a huge deal. And you look at the AI graph, and it's like black's up by 1 point.
Yeah.
but as a, you know, from a human standpoint, that cut looks brutal, and I have no idea how I'd handle it.
Yeah, something I learned from Baduk Doctor and even someone else was that whoever sort of starts the fight first and is able to sort of control the fight. So it's not just starting, right? If you just start a fight randomly and you're in trouble, that's not good. But if you can start and control the fight first, you are actually the person who's likely to win the game.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
This was just something that he's noticed from watching a ton of games. Whoever is the one who's in control of the first fight of the game usually ends up winning somehow. So
interesting.
It's like a psychological thing, I think, more so than anything else.
I do like that, though.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I think, like, you can't always rely on sort of like AI evaluation for that stuff, because it definitely does not account for any of the psychological aspects of the game.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, so that's why you end up jumping here, and I probably actually still would just defend the cut.
Yeah. I
have to be honest. Like, I think I still probably would just play a move in this area in general, or jumping this direction, sort of try to defend the cut in some way, versus jumping on the other side.
Well, so I jumped out here to give N17 a little more support. That was the intent here.
I guess if I am going to attack it, right, if I am going to try to apply a lot of pressure like this, you do want to have a little bit of support there, but I do feel like that cut, even after this move, even after here, I can probably actually still just cut. I have to be honest. Like in a high level game, I think this is still possible, because even if you do this one, just turning here and or I guess maybe you can even just push again, because you still have to fix this shape. It's kind of an awkward shape to jump here.
Yeah, I would probably just Hane.
It could Hane, and then there's push and cut in the future, so we can just jump out. And your group is actually still a weak group in the center after this. It is still something that can be attacked in the future. That's why it sort of feels a little bit like it's not defending as well as you'd want it to. So often defending a cut directly is the better idea. Or if you know exactly what direction the cut is going to go in, you want to defend on that side. So if you were going to be pushing me towards the bottom side, if you play a move on that side already, you already have that cut off. And so you can then focus mainly on just your other group instead of having to worry about the bottom side.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is one thing I know, for, you know, this is getting a little off the rails a little bit for the context of this game. But that is one thing I've noticed with my games, is this is how I get in trouble, you know, including the game that I sent you the screenshot earlier today, where I try to fix a cut in a cute way, and it just comes back to bite me. And it's just like, just fix play the move that fixes the cut, and you're not going to get in trouble. And if it's a little slow, so be it. So I do think I need to start looking at that a little more.
The thing that I've been sort of pushing a little bit lately, I need to push it more, but it's local shape matters more than anything globally.
Yeah.
And so if you play whatever is locally the best shape for your stones, that is always going to be the best idea, because you're still going to be able to build from the center here if you would need to.
Yeah, that is true.
Yep. But yeah, your shape is just 100% strong. You are unlikely to ever have to worry about it. Even at this point, like if I go to push through, it actually might even just be better to let me take those stones.
Yeah, that is very true. Yep.
Yeah. So that's how annoying this fight is going to be for you. So I feel like just like some slightly off move basically here, and so I'm able to press down the top. If I really want to be aggressive, of course, right, I can invade, or I can try to attack more. But again, I'm just reducing. I think that's a really important thing to understand. I need to just keep extending until my cut is not a big deal. Right, as long as I can just capture this, we're good to go.
Yep, because you've got the net. Yep.
Here I have a ton of options, and it's hard for me to even say. I wasn't even sure. Like, I even thought about just jumping towards the center, because if I do one jump here, I can push and cut again with not that much worry.
Yep.
Because I have the strength on top and some strength on bottom where I can run to. But then I decided, I should focus on the territory stuff. So I'm gonna slide in the corner. I said you should have played a move over here earlier, so I'm gonna show you that you should have played a move over here earlier, basically.
Yep.
And then, yeah, whenever your opponent's sliding into the corner, you are supposed to just back off instead.
Okay. Yeah, we actually Triton and I went over this before we started the review.
Yeah,
this was yeah. So I don't know, like, I don't know how good of a job I did at selling that I was playing a normal game here, but I did mention once. So Triton played B6 very quickly, and I was like, "There's no way I can just brush that off and be like, oh yeah, that's a totally normal move, especially with how quickly it came." And so it was clear. It's funny, and so I mentioned, I'm like, this. I didn't even know that this was a move. So Triton said, "Oh yeah, I had to play this because it's something I've actually just recently posted about on his subscriber channel." And so I wanted to go over this. So let's back it up. Okay, so. We are just supposed to play C3 here.
You're just supposed to back off at C3.
Okay, and then if Black pushes at B3, we're just going to jump to J3.
Yeah, it's the more efficient way versus just taking the corner. But
yeah,
you can still block technically if you just don't want to be pressured. Just jumping's a little bit faster.
But no, hey, even I learned something here. That is a good thing. So no, I did not know that pinch really caught me off guard, because I was saying in the video, it's like, oh, when your opponent plays here, you just play on top, and if they take the corner, you Hane and get the outside, and if they pull back, then you get the corner, and then you took the corner. So I'm like, okay, well, Hane get the outside, and then you played that pinch instantly. I was like, well, nope, that's clearly not how this works.
Something to also note here is actually if we even just get rid of my stone here, as long as I have something on that side, I can still go in, because I'm able to connect in some way here. And if you're trying to really fight back, you see how complicated it can be here with just this Ihane. That's why I had 2 stones.
That's gross.
These stones, you have to keep going down here. And are you even alive if you do that? Yeah, it's no good to do that, right? So you have to back off. And if you're backing off, I'm actually still able to connect up to my stone over here. So I just need something on the third line, anywhere on the third line.
Interesting.
Maybe not all the way to C12 or anything, but at least somewhat close. And so it makes it even easier if I already have this stone, because now it's just a normal clamping Tesuji that you see quite often, because we're threatening.
No, of course, I like it.
Nice cut or cutting underneath. Yeah. Usually you see this on the third line instead of the second line, though. But yeah. I kind of actually liked the way you played here. You push and then you sort of threaten my group. I'm just going to be defending. But you are able to kind of make a little bit of a moyo in the center. And so even here, I actually kind of thought you should maybe continue.
Yeah, I did consider this. But then, then I start becoming worried if Black gets something like F10 on the board, because I thought the potential on the left was more than the potential on the right. One thing I do focus a lot with these games as we transition into middle game, or obviously in middle game here, I like to focus heavily on strength of groups and potential on the board. And so I like to highlight where's their potential, where are their weaknesses, and are their weaknesses near the potential, so that you can get, kind of 2 things at once. So that's kind of what led to N5, right? N5 is there's a weakness on the board, it's near potential, let's go after the weakness while building our potential. And makes sense. And so I'd already invested that 1 move, and I thought that was enough. And then I thought that there was enough here. I was wondering, so would you just recommend B12 here? I mentioned in the video that if C10 was at D10, that I would have played B12. But with C10 being on the third line, I was unsure. So I was like, oh, let's just keep it simple. And shoulder hit, it turned into anything but simple. So now I do wonder if if B12 is just the way to go here.
Well, the key here is actually a little bit more on the idea of consistency. If you invade, regardless if it works or not, and we fight, you're jumping out towards the center. And while you're jumping out towards the center, you're not going to be able to make your points in the center anymore.
Yep, that's fair.
So if you were trying to build that into something, then this is the wrong idea. And what I was actually considering a little bit was maybe even just jumping from this side. This seems a little bit weird, but I like to always think
I would have never considered this move.
Yeah, I like to think of this in terms of what my opponent could do. right? If you're actually worried about my influence on the left side or me being able to build something, I wouldn't be building, like, let's say you do this one, I wouldn't be building like this or building from this area. What I would actually be doing, I'd be jumping over the top of your stone because I'm reducing and I'm building at the same time. And that's why I always say my focus is on reduction, because if I reduce you here, I'm getting moves, like let's just put random moves on the board here, just so they're there. I'm getting these moves, and now these moves were only focused on reduction. Now I can find a way to use them after I've reduced, and now if I just jump here, I now have this large bit of area here. That's definitely matching what you have. So if I actually go back, this was the move that I wanted to play. Your opponent's vital point is your vital point, right? So if you actually just jump here, if your goal is to prevent me from building, just jumping here is one of the best ways to do it, because I can't come over the top of you anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. And H12 is nowhere near as scary of a move because white's so much stronger now.
Yeah, you have nothing to worry about. And like at a more advanced level, you could do something like this one where you're threatening to cut through, right?
Yeah.
But even in a high level game, this could be a decent move. I'm actually kind of curious. I got a score estimate back and forth here just to see what it looks like. It's actually only losing 1 point to play that jump. So that's actually not bad at all.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and that's probably that's another big difference between our play styles. Though one that I probably should start adopting more into my play. You focus very heavily on just reduce, do not invade, unless you need to invade to win, right? Like if you're going to lose if you don't invade, that's when you invade. But and I think a big reason for that is, especially as you get stronger, you're going to know how to deal with invasions and your opponent's going to know how to deal with invasions. And so making an invasion successful becomes a lot tougher because your opponents start to understand that they don't need to kill the invasion. They just need to make it really painful for you. And then this kind of goes into the thing that you talked about earlier, where whoever controls the first fight, and usually the person who invades is not going to be that person, right? They're the
ones who are under attack. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just a tough position. So reducing is just a good means of, still staying solid. But that, again, that's a slight difference between our play styles. But that is one that I think I could adopt into my play style, because I definitely see the benefit of doing that. Because generally, also, I should be able to embrace that, because when you're reducing, you're also building your influence. And I'm an influential player. I really enjoy influence. Reducing gets you continue to get your influence. And so it's funny. I thought that's what was going to happen with D11. That turned into the opposite of influence. But I think that's probably just more of I think if we were the same strength, if we were the same strength players, I would have been able to do a better job with it.
Well, but this is something you may not have really realized. Actually, you're playing close to thickness with this move, right?
Yep. So for you, you're saying probably just cap at E10, play a little bit further away from thickness. It still reduces. If we're not looking at something like K12, would that be more in line with how you view
if I'm going
reductions,
to be reducing,
or is that still? Yeah.
If I'm going to be reducing the left side, if that's my goal here, I want to play from an area that I'm strong, right? So something like a move at 1 where I'm playing from the top side. Yep. If they really try to cut it off, it's going to be fine because I can still keep running around.
Yep.
Or I want to be playing just something that's a little bit closer to my own stones in some way.
Okay. Interesting.
So I'm not focused on playing too closely to the black stones in this case. I'm focused on
that's still I guess that's still too close to strength. So.
Yeah, because technically, if I really wanted to, I could pincer and attack you first. If I'm attacking you, as you saw, your bottom side group was not 100% alive, and now you're just creating complications. So if I'm behind, I can attack you and try to get ahead. And if you're behind, maybe you have to do this to try to get ahead. The other way that I would do it is attaching over the top here. We have our weakest group on the bottom side. All your other groups on the board are definitely 100% alive. Your weakest group's on the bottom side. So if you're attaching, this is like a kick and extend type of Joseki here. This Hane here just to reduce a little bit, and you're also kind of growing a little bit.
It's funny. I guess I don't inherently see that as a reduction. I almost see that as black getting more potential as black gets D8 and E8. So can you go over why you view that as a reduction?
maybe you didn't necessarily notice that your group was as weak as it was. That could
I
be
definitely did. I
way.
definitely did not. No.
So let's say we just play a nice end game over here. It's really annoying, but
Sure.
we just have these moves that we had in the game. We have this slide here and this bump here. And now if we're just playing a couple moves from the center, you'll notice, right, that now we have all this influence here.
Yeah. Yep.
Came out of nowhere, right? But what if you already had these stones? Well, now that's not very useful. None of these moves are going to be played the same way. So you actually are reducing.
Okay.
But it's based on the idea of really understanding where you're weak.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is the weakest area. So if I was going to try to reduce in the strongest way possible, you don't necessarily have to even attach if you feel like that's even too much. Even just jumping from this side in general, from this group, you're reducing from one of the directions, basically.
Okay. Got that. Okay.
Yeah. I think even all the way up to the Dawn level, just keeping groups strong and knowing when groups are weak is probably the most important skill that you can develop, which is why I really like to focus on it very early. Like even here on the left side, I could extend down here. This is a much better point move. But if I don't take a liberty off of your two stones in the center, it's actually harder to attack them because they're a little bit stronger.
Correct.
So playing this type of move is still not going to be bad.
Yep.
And I'm actually applying a lot more pressure to you. And there's a couple times where I could have tried to apply a lot more pressure, or try to do a lot more, but or try to get more points. But I didn't necessarily have to do that to just play a good game of Go.
Yeah.
And the only time I start really worrying about points is right over here. Like we finished all of our fighting, and now we're playing end game. And now that it's end game, now we worry about points.
It's like now we care about. I actually, I might use this game as an example because the next basic video I want to go over is something that I haven't really seen anybody do, especially at a basic level, which is go over like the phases of the games and the phases of the game and what we care about those phases. Mm-hmm. What are we doing in Fuseki? Why are we doing it? What are we doing in middle game? Why are we doing it? And because I really want to focus, put attention on that. In the middle of the game, we don't care about points yet. And so I actually looked up games on this account of yours because I was like, oh, no, I bet Triton does a pretty good job of that. But they were a little too complicated for what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And while this one probably still fits that bill of maybe being a little too complicated, the fact that I played it and can understand at least one of the players' perspectives on it, and that we've gone over it, this will probably be a good example. Because that's a video I've been wanting to put together for a long while. So hopefully,
I think that's
hopefully you guys will see that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea actually, because like that's kind of something I'm doing with these videos, in that when the second end game starts, I'm saying, okay, now we switch to the end game mode. Basically, I'm not really saying that, but okay, we're focused on these second line moves because now is the time for end game. And when we're in the middle game, I'm only talking about the strength of my groups, not preventing a Haunted Head of 2 stones and 3 stones and that sort of stuff. And then in the opening, that's why I have such a specific opening that I'm using. That way I always have something easy to follow for the opening, and I know exactly what my goal is. Yeah.
It's a little boring to be like, I'm always, even from like a learning perspective, right, to just always use that same opening. But what's nice with doing it that way is you can isolate the rest of the game and be like, at least I know I'll get through Fuseki okay, so that we can isolate the more important parts of the game, which I think is middle game. I think 90% of our games are won or lost in the middle game. That's my stance. And I think most people would agree with that. So then you can do that. And it's like, and then as you start developing those skills now that you understand more, now you can go back to Fuseki and try some different things if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, I think
it's funny. I like how you mentioned that like you don't say that you don't say that we're in end game now. It's actually funny. Like I actually do, right? When you played 018, my response was, okay, my opponent, I said out loud, I was like, okay, I'm like, Black says we are in endgame. When Black plays 018, that's Black saying we are in endgame now. And I was like, and I agree, we are in endgame. Good stuff. So yeah, I really appreciated this. I thought that this was a lot of fun, very, very insightful. Hopefully both of our viewerships can enjoy this one and hopefully follow along as, two, or at least one stronger player. I can pretend to be.
You're not doing too bad. You're not doing too bad.
No,
so.
no.
We'll definitely have to do some more content together as well, because I think these sorts of discussions, even just this last part where we're reviewing the game and talking a little bit about what we were thinking, like we thought this was maybe a little bit more of a basic idea, or like you're defending in a way that I think is maybe not the right way, and you realize that's just a common mistake that you're making in your own games. Having these types of discussions is really important. That's actually also why I started recently doing a study group with a bunch of my students and stuff, is so they can discuss with each other. And so I definitely want to encourage this type of thing. So we definitely need to make another video.
It is a really, yeah. No, I'm always around looking to do more interesting things rather than just just the bus rides. Every week in and week out, I do try to mix up the content a little bit, and this is a good way to do it. So I think this is probably a good stopping point.
Yep.
For this one. I think we went over a lot of good stuff. So now you guys can go, depending on which video you're watching, you can then go watch the other video to see, during the actual play, our thoughts on it. And obviously, our thoughts have come together during the review. If you're here from my channel, you only got my perspective from it. Now you can go watch Triton and see his perspective, or vice versa. While we do approach things differently, and obviously, it's very possible that the way I look at things resonates a little better, or vice versa, because our play styles are a little bit different. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do that. There are certain aspects of your game that I just don't think would fit in too well with what I want my play style to be. But there certainly are. Some. So I'll definitely watch your video, because it'll be interesting to see the other side of it. So.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be kind of fun to see. I always like to watch, like even when I played Yunkyo, or when I play anyone else, like seeing the other perspective is always really interesting to me, and it's interesting for everyone else as well. I think you can get a little bit out of that, and I definitely agree. You definitely all go check out Struggle Bus. I'll definitely be leaving a link in the description, or maybe even a comment. We'll have to figure that out. But I'll link to yours as well, though I have to assume anybody who knows my channel knows yours, and most likely vice versa at this point in time. But if that is not the case, obviously go check out Triton's videos, especially the recent series that he started up, because he has started his own kind of like a roadmap of what skills you need to break into single digit Q, and he goes over it. That is actually also something that I appreciate about a lot of your games too. Like it does seem like you have the stuff that pops up while you're playing as well, that sort of highlights a lot of the fundamentals that you go over, and it does seem like it's something that's fairly easy to follow along with as well. That's one reason why I like doing videos with you, even though we've only done a couple. I still think it's kind of fun. All right, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun for me to do. You'll have to let me know if you like this sort of discussion. If you do actually like this sort of discussion in these videos, if one of you wants to jump in and play a game with me and discuss what you were thinking, well, you can definitely try that. Or if you have someone else in mind who you'd want me to talk to and maybe do another basics video against, we can call it. Sadly, I can't play against Bats. He probably wouldn't let me. Anyone else, though, it might be possible. Hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you guys are having a good day, and have fun.